Hey, it's Chris from Awesome Possum Gaming, and I'm back from Gen Con 2023. I got a chance to sit down on the show floor to speak with the marvelous Matt Forbeck and CJ Cervantes, the creators of Marvel Multiverse Role-Playing Game. Let's go ahead and get into the interview. So this is Chris with Awesome Possum Gaming. I'm here with a great team from Marvel. Can you guys introduce yourselves?
All right. I'm CJ Cervantes. I'm the producer and project lead of the Marvel Multiverse RPG.
Fantastic. And?
Matt Forbeck. I write things.
You write things. Yes, you've written many things. So, can you guys tell me a little bit about your background and how you guys started the world of game design?
Oh, man. You first.
Yeah. He's got a really long story because he's got a little bit more gray.
Sure. So I've been with Marvel now since the game is being vertically published by Marvel Entertainment, close to 7 years. So I've worked on a variety of different products, different projects across digital publishing. There was an incredible opportunity as a gamer of RPG games, video games, to essentially run the Marvel Multiverse RPG project. We had an incredible team. Obviously, we have an amazing designer in Matt. And it's been great to work on this project, mainly because it's so incredible to take pieces of your experience playing games and really feel like you can help produce a game that is the best parts of all of them, almost, right? So that's how I ended up here.
Fantastic. How about you?
I just stumbled into it. I don't know. I was just, no. I've been doing game design since I was a kid. I started out at my own booth at Gen Con when I was 16 years old. I did a little mini magazine we call a zine nowadays. Went for 2 whole issues.
Magazines, what are those?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, joking.
You see things like People, National Geographic.
There's a National Geography, you say. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I see that on TV, I think. No. I started out doing this stuff very early on. I got into freelancing when I was in college. Worked with a guy named Will Niebling, who was a sales. Yeah,
Fantastic.
Will was kind of mentored me. I actually met him at my first Gen Con when I was like 14 years old. We played Dilemma Patrol. He used to walk around in a cowboy hat and boots and all this kind of stuff. And but then I ended up going to University of Michigan, and Will was an alumni there. And he's like, "Hey, I'll tell you what. If you give me football tickets, I'll buy your tickets, and then I'll start taking you to trade shows, show you around. You can do inventory at Greenfield Hobby Distributors up in Ferndale, Michigan." And so I started doing that. I go to these different shows. I'd be in the booth, like we're doing today.
Sure.
And I would basically just kind of say, "Hey, I could write that for you. I could edit that for you." And then I ended up doing it. So I just kind of talked my way into it by falling in with one crowd. When it comes to this game, I actually designed. John Nee was the publisher of Marvel Comics when we started the project. They moved on to other things now. But John was an old friend of mine because he had actually hired me to work on the Wildstorms collectible card game for Jim Lee back in the mid-'90s, right? 94, 93, something like that. And I kept up with him ever since, right? So I also, in the meantime, I worked on Marvel Heroes Battle Dice, which was from Playmates Toys, which was a big mass market game. Worked on 2 of their MMOs, wrote 2 editions of the Marvel Encyclopedia, a whole bunch of other stuff. So, and I'd been doing role-playing games for 30 years, right? So when John's like, "Oh, I need somebody who knows Marvel and role-playing games," who he knew and trusted, that was a very short list.
Very short list.
So he's like, he just went right to me.
That makes sense, especially with all the different books you've written recently for those type of brands.
Exactly.
So the Marvel Multiverse Role-Playing Game has been generating a lot of anticipation among fans. What sets it apart from other RPGs on the market?
It's awesome.
Well, duh. But what makes it so awesome?
You see that little Marvel logo on it? That actually is the best part. Well, that's not the game part. That's one of the coolest things, right? I mean, you get to play with Spider-Man, Captain America, all these other guys. That's the best thing. One of the things that makes it different from a mechanical point of view is that it uses this system called the D616 system, which is 3 dice that you roll together, you add them together, just like you would for playing Yahtzee or whatever. You just okay, I got 3 here, like rolling up D&D character. You roll 3 dice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you add your agility, you add your ability modifier to that, and then that goes against the target. But the 3 dice gives you a nice little bell curve instead of a flat curve. But the really cool thing is the middle die is what we call a Marvel die. And on the one of that die, with the one symbol is the pip, we actually have a Marvel logo on the official dice. You can use any dice you want to. Go rate your Monopoly box or whatever. And when that shows up, that actually counts as a 6. So that die goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And when that die shows up, it's something special happens. A fantastic result, we call it, right? And that could be double damage. It could be, Cyclops, not only did you blast the guy, you blinded him this time, right? Stuff like that. So we try to build in these neat little things that made it more exciting and super heroic and fantastic, essentially.
Yeah. We're also really excited and happy about the accessibility of the system. So to Matt's point, everyone has D6s in their home. So rather than having to rummage through your dice pack and you find a D20 and your D8 and all these different types of die, we really wanted to make sure that if you are new to RPGs and a Marvel fan, you could pick this book up off the shelf and have fun, while also giving that depth and that slight crunch for folks that are veterans and seasoned players that just want to have a blast playing as superheroes.
If someone had a Yahtzee or Monopoly game, they could raid their game and play with those dice, and they'd be good to go.
Yep.
Excellent. So, as the authors of the Marvel Multiverse RPG, how did you approach, the creators, how did you approach bringing such an expansive universe to life in a tabletop game format? You started to talk about the D6s and the bell curve.
See this stunned look in my eyes? It's a lot, right? Actually, the problem isn't that it's a lot. It's that it's narrowing down what you could put in a book, right? Because if we have every one of the characters in the game has its own page, right? And if we had to do that for all the thousands of Marvel characters, the book would be like this thick, right? It would be ridiculous. So we narrowing it down, trying to find the focus and the fun parts or whatever, that's the real big challenge for me. It's such an expansive universe, 80 years of history, so many amazing things have happened to it. And honestly, one of the biggest audiences in the world because of all the films and television with the comics and stuff.
Generating billions of dollars of revenue.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So some big shoes they have to step next to. And it just goes inside. Right, with the rest of the products, especially with the multiverses finally coming together.
Yep.
It's a fantastic time to release that game. Marvel has a vast array of iconic characters. How did you handle character creation and balance to ensure an enjoyable gaming experience for players?
Oh, were we supposed to do that? No, actually, one of the things we did, we came out last year in April with a playtest rule, right?
Uh-huh.
It was 120 pages, $10, comic book size. And we're like, well, we think this is going to kind of make a good game, guys. What do you think? We put it out there for everybody to play, right? Marvel Unlimited readers got it for free a few months after it came out. And we had like tens of thousands of bits of feedback, responses from people. And it really helped us hone the game in a lot of ways, right? Cool. Make it a better game, make it more accessible, make it more fun, make it cleaner, right? And that was really the impetus for that. That was, if we hadn't done that, it would have been a very different game. It would have been much more complex. But to be able to play test on the open market like that, with everybody pitching in was amazing. And thank God for all those playtests. And they really did us a solid. They're amazing.
One of the changes we made as well was we reduced it from a 25 rank system to a 6 rank system. And rather than having these micro rank ups, right, you go from level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 25. Mm-hmm. The ranks are meant to be condensed down almost like a classification system. Right. So if you're rank 1, you're a rookie, right? You might have just stumbled into your powers and you're still trying to figure that out.
Or it's short time.
Exactly. Versus the rank 6 character who's cosmic. You're at the top of your power level. You're flying through space through different multiverses, etc. And by doing it with a rank system, you're able to help classify those characters so that folks like Spider-Man and Captain America and Black Panther all feel similar in a power perspective. We just won't talk about Daredevil. So.
Long-standing arguments. I think I get people complaining about that. One guy's like, "Is Daredevil that rank?" I'm like, "Oh, you're not the only one." Right?
Yeah.
Daredevil's rank 2, and a lot of the guys are like, "Oh, he's got to be rank 3." I'm like, "Well, but look at him."
Right.
And let's stat him out. Let's figure everything out. Yeah, he's rank 2. And that's need to be higher, right?
It is difficult sometimes when you have so many creators that have created tremendous Marvel stories. And they have characters that are stronger, weaker, depending on how they've created the character. So you have to take a lot of that into effect. How do you make that work at a table? But we think we've done a tremendous job with the game and with where it is now.
I mean, look at like Chip Zdarsky Daredevil versus Frank Miller Daredevil versus Stan Lee Daredevil. It's, vastly different types of characters. The way they're written, and even kind of the powers they have in some things, right? So you always have to be a little bit careful of this stuff. But we try to, we've been working on stuff for years. Like I said, I wrote a couple editions of Marvel Encyclopedia. We are, some of those biggest experts in the world, that kind of thing. We brought that to bear as well.
Excellent. The Marvel Universe is known for its complex and interconnected stories. How do you incorporate that aspect into the game's mechanics and narrative structure?
Right. Well, interesting thing. We try to give that stuff over to the narrator, right? There's a chapter in the book. It's all about the narrator advice. It tells the narrator how to run the game, do that stuff. We don't try to enforce that in the game, right? The game is the characters are basically like, this is your character, these are your stats, these are what your powers, all that kind of stuff. But as far as saying there's mechanical bits that force you to do things one way or the other, we want to put that into the narrator's hands and give them as much freedom as they possibly can, right? I'm a big fan of a lot of other modern role-playing games that are more storytelling driven, right? And they're high trust with a lot of people who are able to tell these incredible stories. Adventures of Baron Munchausen is one of the first ones of these, right? Fiasco is another great game for this kind of stuff. We're trying to tell Marvel type stories like this is how a Marvel type story works. You've already seen lots of these stories, right? So we're not going to force that kind of thing. We're going to let them have their fun the way they want to at their table.
Which plays into the title as well, right?
Yeah.
Your table, right? That is your multiverse that you're playing in. If something were to happen there that might not necessarily fit into the canon Marvel, that's okay because that is your specific universe that you're playing.
Yeah, every game you play in, every campaign or whatever, that's its own Marvel universe. And you get to do whatever you want with it.
Excellent.
We might want to listen. We don't know, but but you can do what you want to.
Here's a tricky question. You could choose not to answer if you like. How was your experience working with Marvel and other collaborators on this project?
So, it's honestly, it's been great, right? I love it. It's such a talented and dedicated group of people, seriously, who care about this stuff, care not just about stories, but about games, about making a wonderful experience for the players, a wonderful product for people, giving people value for their money to make sure because we want this to be a line that'll go on for years and years and years, right? We want to make sure everybody's on board with it so they can feel the enthusiasm. When I talk to these guys, it's not like, oh, now I gotta go talk to the suits upstairs. We're like, okay, we're gonna dig into this. And CJ's like getting into all like the arguments we had about the sizing. Oh my God. Right. But it turns out a lot of times these guys are right. It's as a designer, one of the things you learn is you have to be humble about your designs because if they're not working, you have to fix them. Right. And you guys have always been great about that, but there's also one of the great reasons for the playtest thing, right? We get like, oh, that's not working. Let's fix it. Oh man, the playtest we ran at Comic-Con last year. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Some friends of mine, professional game designers, came in and basically broke the game over their knees. Right? And ow. Oh, that's not working at all.
Those guys are power gamers.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? They're like, oh, we could, oh, God, I need to fix it. And we did. It's a much better game for them. But working with Marvel has been great. They have been fantastic. They're always there with any resources I need and all the help and advice I could ever want. So
cool. The tabletop gaming community is diverse, with players ranging from beginners to experienced veterans. How did you cater to different players' skill levels in the design of the Marvel Multiverse RPG?
This is a good question. We tried to make this a game that we want to have a game that actually hit two markets pretty well, right? We want to have a game that if you're already a gamer, you'll be able to just basically step over into this. You'll understand the vocabulary of this game. If you play like D&D or Champions or whatever, any kind of game, you'll look at this, you'll say, I get it. This is how this works. I'm familiar with it, right? But if you're just a Marvel fan who's kind of RPG curious and seeing these crazy people over here with the swords and wands and such, you can now strap on your mask and your gauntlets and go, right? So for that, we try to keep the math as simple as it could. Character creation is actually pretty easy. The power system gets very complex as you get to higher and higher power levels. But if you start out low, it's pretty easy to get into, right? You can learn the stuff. How long does it take you to teach a game?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That sounds like
down to a science.
Yeah.
That sounds like an easy game to get into. But of course, you're an experienced player. For someone that's just picking up the book and have never looked at a role-playing book before because they bought it because it has that magic word Marvel on the cover, it makes it so it might not necessarily be as easy for them. But if you can learn in teach how to play in 5 minutes,
I'm sure it'll be easy for someone, the average Joe, to go through and pick up and try it out.
The book has a lot of visuals as well for example to show, hey, if you roll your 3 die, this is what you'll see. By the way, if you have edge or trouble, this is actually what that would mean. And it literally breaks it out. Matt did an incredible job explaining this to folks step by step so that it's easier for those types of folks to comprehend that.
I've been doing this for a while, but I mean, the trick is that I was just talking about this in a seminar I was in. When you do rules, you hand them to somebody and see how they play, right? You go, this is a rule. And they read it and go, and then they go, they try it. And you're like, no, oh, that's wrong. That's entirely wrong. Not their fault. Never the player's fault. It's the writer's fault for not explaining it clearly enough, right? So I will often send out game rules for things over again, cold play testing people, and watch them play or have them send me back a report. If they did something wrong, it's because I screwed it up. And that's actually really great because that's why I'm doing that kind of play testing. I want to do that before it goes to press, right? I want to get that kind of feedback. You guys doing that and the stuff from the play testers has been amazing. But to be able to write that stuff and have people say, now I get it, it's really clear. I've been doing this for a long time, so it's generally pretty clear to start with. But you always want to refine and make it easier.
You always want to have second, third, fourth, fifth pair of eyes on something to make sure it tests correctly.
I mean, a game should be fun, right? That's the whole point of a game. It shouldn't be something you're like, oh, this is homework. I got to read this whole thing. No, it should be fun to read too, right? It should be all the way, every part of it.
How many times do you think I said, guys, is this fun?
Yeah.
That was a question I repeatedly asked in a lot of our meetings.
No, that was.
I'm stealing that statement, guys. Is this fun?
This fun.
I'm stealing and I quote you for the rest of my life about this, okay? Because that's key when it comes to game design.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Here's a little bit different question. You already started talking about before. Can you share any memorable playtest experiences or feedback that significantly influences the game's development? Because you were saying people came in and they broke it. Tell me a little bit about a story about how someone came in and broke it.
Names, well,
you don't need to.
But,
Player X.
This one friend of mine, a woman who's incredible to game designer, comes in and she's playing Storm, right? And she's like, oh, this power here, now if I combine it with this thing over here, this little trait over here, she comes in and basically blew apart the entire defense in one turn, right? It was like Storm just came in like she was the god of weather, right? Which she kind of was, right? But I'm like, well, that's not supposed to be that easy for you, right?
Granted, she had looked at the character sheet for 2 minutes.
Yeah, she was so sure.
Took the character sheet. Okay, everyone's done. We were like, oh,
I've had role-playing experiences just like that with my GM, and he just looks at me like, God, I hate you.
she did that, and then Ajit, that's what. Yeah, he came in, and he's like, it's all about the character sheet. Why can't I see this information here? What's going on? And I'm like, I mean, you're a player. Everything should be on the sheet in front of you. You should have to look anything up, maybe a power or two, once you figure that stuff out. But everything else you got to do should be here, should be laid out, should be able to find it easily. We concentrated really hard.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To the point of Storm, a lot of it comes down to you want people to feel super, right? It is a superhero game.
Right.
So Storm should be able to take down easy folks. But once she starts taking down folks that are a little higher, you have to really fine-tune it to make sure that there is still challenge for folks as they're playing.
And the neat thing, one thing that came up between the playtest and the main book is that we decided to change the damage, and we actually have a multiplier off the Marvel die, right? So when you roll the dice, you actually look at your die and say, okay, that Marvel die there, I'm going to multiply that. But if I hit somebody, that actually tells me how much damage I do too, right? The neat thing about that is, if you play like D&D and you're like, I put everything I got, I'm going to stick my sword in that dragon, and you're like, boom, I got a 20, double damage, I roll the damage, I got 2 points. God. So the neat thing about this system is because if it's hard for you to hit and you really have to work everything up, that means your numbers on your dice are going to be high too, because you actually have abilities to manipulate the dice and re-roll them. Your numbers have to be high. That means if you finally get that last hit you just don't think you're going to be able to pull off, you're actually going to do massive damage for the sake of it. Right?
Cool.
But it feels like that one last punch coming out of nowhere.
It feels heroic.
Exactly.
Heroic is definitely the best word to put for it. So, just between you and me, the Marvel
Folks there, and it's right in front of us.
the Marvel Multiverse RPG is likely to have exciting plans for future expansions and updates. Can you give us a little sneak peek about what's coming up?
Well, we've announced a few things.
Sure. So the first title that we have coming out is The Cataclysm of Kang, which is our adventure book coming out in November.
Perfect timing with the movies and the TV shows and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, so we have 6 different adventures in that book. We have some really incredible writers that came on for that title as well. It's you can either play each adventure as a standalone, or you can tie them together as a campaign. We wanted to give people that flexibility. Then after that, we have the X-Men expansion book, which is going to really expand the game with all of those new powers and traits, tags, etc., coming out the beginning of next year, and then a Spider-Verse expansion book coming out the end of next year. And after that,
More cool shit.
exactly.
More bullshit. We love it. Love it. So, you were here at Gen Con. It is the best 4 days of gaming. What's your favorite part about Gen Con?
Well, I'm a little biased, but I like the Diana Jones Award because I run it, right? There's a big pro party I run on Wednesday nights. So.
I figured that would be your answer. But other than Diana Jones,
Well, I'll tell you, and this is not me plugging me. This is actually, we do something now called the Emerging Designers Program, where we actually have people nominate new designers that have been working for like 3 or 4 years maximum. And then we basically bring them out to Gen Con, introduce them around, give them a booth to demo their games and show people off. And focus often on marginalized groups. We brought in one woman from Taiwan, for instance, who's a fantastic designer, does Pathfinder stuff. We're really proud of that. I think it's neat to be able to help spawn the next generation of game designers that way and really help kickstart their careers. I mean, they're already amazing people, right? We're just saying, since you're amazing people, let's make sure you get out to the audience that you can reach, right? And I think that's just a wonderful thing. But
Awesome.
also, that's one of my favorite things. And also playing games with my kids.
playing games with the kids. It's not like you get a chance now that they're almost adults.
Yeah, well, the problem is they're all, some of them are off at college. We don't always get to see them every time. But we have a tradition here. We used to play Munchkin every year at Gen Con on Sunday at noon with Andrew Hackard, who is the Munchkin czar, right? The guy who's in charge of the line. Andrew passed from glioblastoma a couple years ago. And every year since then, and we're going to do it again this Sunday. Sunday at noon, we're going to run a little game with me and my kids, and people are going to maybe hopefully show up and pitch in for the Diana Jones Awards Emerging Designer Program charity, because it's now a nonprofit 501c3. It's all tax deductible, folks.
Excellent.
We'll play the game in his honor, right? We're going to do that every year until we all go, right?
Excellent.
We all.
That's fantastic. How about for you?
So my favorite part of Gen Con is Marvel Multiverse. No. So this is only my second Gen Con. I would say my favorite part has been the people. Every single person that I have met has been so incredible, so excited, so happy to play games. Last year, I just walked around the floor and just rolled up to a table, and I need 2 other folks to play. Someone just says, "Hey, do you want to play a game? Do you want to play a game?" Instantly, boom. I've never set a board game or gaming session up faster than at Gen Con, which has been incredible. And just seeing the people come by the Marvel booth and say, "Hey, I either played the playtest or I want to know more about this book. Can you tell me about it?" Just joy and excitement. It's so rewarding. It's awesome.
It's wonderful. Hey, guys, I really appreciate your time. You guys had some amazing answers, and I can't wait to get my hands on my own book. I'm going to have to go in the exhibit hall by myself.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.